All right, so I'm Joshua Alexander, mental health freedom fighter, and today I have with me Jules, who's going to share her healing testimony. Hi, Jules.
Hello, thank you again for having me on.
Of course. So where are you coming from? Where are you
I,
from?
I'm a bit north of Toronto.
Okay,
Okay.
up in Canada. Cool. Right.
Yeah.
So when did your symptoms first begin? How did your symptoms start?
I think a lot of it, my experience with mental health has been with PTSD as a big role. So a lot of that began as a child having a tumultuous kind of upbringing and lots of changes. I was moving like every 2 years of my life. So all of that sort of started to weigh down on me. And already I think I was living in fight or flight for my entire life. So I was always kind of very anxious, very, very shy, insecure, all of that as, just an awkward kid, which that's normal to some extent. But it began to be really amplified when I was, in high school. I had more traumatic things happen. I lost my dad and trying to navigate the world basically without any support or guidance. So around 20 is when I started to really hit into my depression and kind of like continually, I guess, face challenges that took away parts of my personality maybe or my soul sort of. So it was like, this build up to depersonalization of losing everything that kind of was important to me. So I was trying to find reasons that life was important. Um, you know, I I kind of fell into traveling a lot to try to find inspiration, and that works in little spurts, but it's not a patented method to get rid of anything. And also, it comes with many other challenges like financial issues and stress, and just again adrenaline all the time. Um, and I was often at doctors trying to find solutions for some of my problems. Like I grew up with a learning disability as well, which probably like in our range of time was not really acknowledged so much for kids, as it is today. So just having to go through that and feeling kind of like stifled throughout life. And I went to all the doctors really, and they're saying, you're fine, everything's okay. It's in your head, get over it. Right. And then sooner or later, life just continues, to get heavier and heavier. So it came into the point where I was in sort of like critical depression and not finding any solutions, going to counselors, not getting the support I needed, sort of being downplayed, maybe being told my issues are not important. And so, shake it off kind of thing. Um, and so I kind of grew to accept all of that, just seeing that life is kind of, it's not very meaningful. I don't have a purpose, and, was looking for faith, but never found it. I think as a lot of people who kind of go into religious stuff, it's not always there when you need it in like the really tough times. Um, so that's sort of where I was kind of the base before I found medical medium. Um, my life kind of continued to be tumultuous. So it kind of goes on. So my biggest struggle was with suicidal ideation. And that lasted for 7 years, basically. So it was really a tough challenge to battle with every single day.
Yeah. So you mentioned you tried counseling and going to different doctors. Were you trying any of the health trends out there or medications or any other tools or anything?
Absolutely. I was really into health as a youth, and into my adulthood. I was really athletic too, so I was super into nutrition and doing the right things for your body to be the best athlete you could. Even going into the spiritual healing of looking at like Reiki healing and astrologers and psychics, because I thought maybe I just need spiritual guidance to get my life on track and find my purpose and you know find meaning basically. Um, and and I tried prescription as well. I think it's lorazepam. That's like an anti-anxiety that I had tried, and that only made everything much much worse.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to quit that like within 2 weeks. And I know they say, oh, give it 3 weeks and you'll feel better. But it was like I was suicidal in a whole new way when I was on
Hmm.
that. This isn't right. And I always have side effects with medication. So I
Hmm.
generally avoid them when I can. So yeah, so again, all of this, I was just like, well, I guess it's normal. You know, they told me it's genetic. It's, it's just what I have to deal with. But the way I came across medical medium is actually quite a godsend. And I would say it scooped me up just in time to kind of like save me along, because my trajectory was just like straight down. And, like it's not an overnight fix, as we all know, right? But it's just like
Hmm.
it comes up and just, gently brings you back. And so the way I found medical medium was because of my sister, actually. I have a twin sister, and she was going through endometriosis. She was not being believed by her doctor. She, was told that she was just bored and she needed to have more children, and then that would solve the issue. But obviously, as we know, if she had had more children, she would only be in for a terrible pregnancy, probably, and, more postpartum and everything like that. So, she wasn't getting a lot of support from anywhere, really. And I was really trying to be her rock. And she had a coworker tell her about medical medium and suggest she read the first book. This was in about 2016. And she got it. She was reading it, but she was super overwhelmed. She didn't know where to begin. She didn't know how to implement it. And plus, she had a busy family life. So, it wasn't, she just wasn't sure where to begin. And anyway, she was telling me about this every single day for about 2 months, telling me about Anthony and, some of the information about the books. But I had never heard of him before. I didn't know anything about it. And I did believe that I was sort of my own like health expert, right? I'd done all my reading. I kind of knew about things. And I tried all the fads and trends out there as well. And I was like, they don't work. So whatever you're reading is probably a lie. And if it's overwhelming you, like get rid of the book. And anyway, luckily she would not stop talking about it. And so I
Hmm.
finally said, okay, if you won't stop talking about it and you also won't implement anything, I'm going to read the book and I'll tell you every reason this is fake.
Hmm.
And like, thank God, within, like 5 pages, I was like, I think this is it. Like
Hmm.
this answer. And so I just slowly started implementing the information step by step, super small, and gaining my trust with Anthony basically as well through that process. And everything worked. So I couldn't deny it. Right. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I started with I gave myself a 2 week timeline for everything I implemented. And it was like, first I started with just 5 ounces of celery juice, like not even what he recommends. And within 3 days, it just changed my life. So I was like, okay, this is something, like
Wow.
yeah, I immediately noticed I was not losing hair in the shower so much anymore. It was the first time basically in my life that I had slept through the night, because I dealt with insomnia my entire life.
Hmm.
Um, Digestive issues were so much better. So I thought, okay, like this
Wow.
is really good. Yeah. And so the next thing I did was I just implemented just a bowl of wild blueberries every day, not even a heavy metal detox movie, just a bowl. And within 2 weeks, I noticed changes within like my skin glow and, just my hair overall. Dandruff, I was losing, like I was not having dandruff anymore. So I thought, okay, this is like obviously doing the good things. Next thing with lemon water, within 2 weeks, my eye color became so bright. So I thought, again, like this is very good stuff. So, anyways, that
Hmm.
was how it started, and I didn't really look back from then. Um, so, anyways, all of that helped build my trust in the process and was getting me better. But I think, as we all know, if you're living, you're experiencing, trauma and conflict, and, doing life with other people is really hard.
Hmm.
So, although I found the truth and I was healing, I was going through, tumultuous relationships.
Hmm.
And that brought me down again. So it all became sort of like a struggle of like, it is healing is right. The 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Hmm.
But take a lot of steps, and, and then you have to take a lot of steps forward too, right? Like, I don't know if
So that
you also
actually got a
relate
little,
to that.
can you say it one more time? It got a little choppy again there.
Just, I think all of us who are doing life, we have to face the fact that it's hard. We'll
Hmm.
always have trauma and stress. And I think those, like, that's the reason also why all of us on medical media know we'll do it for life, basically,
Yeah.
right? Because there will always be challenges.
Hmm.
Emotionally, there'll always be the physical attack, toxins. So anyways, so this is where my story gets like a little bit worse. And it's not anything to do with medical medium, but it is life. And I hadn't, I think I had only maybe just started to implement heavy metal detox smoothie, and not even all the ingredients because I couldn't get
Hmm.
them. Um, and I made some very bad choices. Like, I decided to move around the world and to start a whole new life, and
Hmm.
to put myself again in stress and trauma and like fight or flight. And it was the worst decision I could have done to myself when I was already really vulnerable. And basically that started the next like 4 years of being ultra suicidal. And I didn't, I wasn't with my family. I didn't have really any support. It was a new country with a new language. But my whole idea was actually that either I'm going to move and start a new identity and it'll all be okay, or it's all going to go terrible and I will end my life and it won't matter because I'll be away from my family. It'll be easy. You know, these are the like foolish thoughts that I
Hmm.
had. And of
Yeah.
course, like when I get there, it didn't go well. Like, it
Hmm.
wasn't easy. And it wasn't also easy to end my life because, time and distance doesn't necessarily cut the ties of your heart or anything, right? And
Hmm.
harm anyone or myself, really. Nobody does.
Hmm.
Who's in so yeah, that's also when I started to go to different psychologists. So, in different countries have sort of like different, I guess, levels of all of that. And so to me, I was like at the top level, and having psychologists tell me that my problems don't matter. And so, like, that kind of stuff just sends you down even farther, because then you don't even know if you're experiencing reality, right? If you're
Wow.
so messed up in your head. And even I think, you know, people outside of medical medium, maybe they may think that um, that kind of extreme is only normal if you've been through like acute trauma, right? Like something really shocking that kind of just destroys everything. But in medical medium information, we know it's the small traumas that add up too. And if you have
Hmm.
metals, get it.
Yeah.
Uh, so, anyways, when I had moved abroad, I also took away my ability to heal in a sense, because I no longer had, my comforts. I didn't have a juicer. I think I took with me like one bottle of zinc and didn't really have a ton of money either. And so I really limited myself, and even my access was not very good there to different foods. So, so I really stalled my own healing in every way possible. And, not surprisingly, I got worse. But again,
Hmm.
that's my fault. It's like I knew the information was right. I just didn't have a reason to live. And the longer I did medical medium, though, the more I could piece it together. So that, I think, was over like a 2 year span, basically, with this, like, me knowing the truth, me eventually getting a juicer, me like doing the lemon water and all that stuff every day. Um, but still up against so much. And so, anyways, I had the opportunity to move to a different country that was a lot more supportive and nicer, because sometimes it's almost like I was attracted to the worst country I could have possibly been to for my situation. And, uh, it's,
Well, I mean, we all make mistakes on the journey. We're trying to move forward and try something new. And we don't necessarily know all the factors, and we can't beat ourselves up about it. The like you said, it takes a while to get the hang of it. So like the first few years, you don't really know all the information. You don't really have that established routine and all the tools and resources. And it's easy to get sidetracked or sideswiped and like get off track. So we have to try to have compassion on ourselves. I do as well, because I'm a perfectionist. So I always, you know,
Just lost you for a sec.
Huh. I was just saying I'm really hard on myself because I'm a perfectionist, so I get it.
I lost you for a second. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But
Anyway,
yeah, no, I heard a lot of what you said though, but we don't know what to do. And I think at that time, I mean, Anthony was just starting to become a lot more of a presence on Instagram as well. So leading up to that, I just had the old radio shows really to hear him from, and I think at that point there was 2 books out. Um, yeah, like the Life Changing Foods in the first one, and
mhm.
so I was just doing my best, and exactly, and I do have a lot of compassion for people who have a hard time implementing everything because it's a total process and it is a lot of information and it's a lot to give up if you're happy with your life. And like I think a lot of us, like there's a balance almost between how bad is your symptoms or your life and how much comforts do you have, sort of, so a lot of people, they say they can't do it, but it's because maybe they're happy with where they're at. They've got a good job, they make good money, they've got a partner, family, whatever, and then you could have on the other side, like where in my position, I felt like I had nothing, and my symptoms were so bad and everything. So eventually I knew that I just needed to jump in, and there was nothing to lose because,
Yeah.
the choice, the terrible, unhappy life forever.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I sort of, to kind of like pick up where I left off of my life, kind of, it was just that I was able to go to a new country where I had better access. It was really beautiful, good weather, all these positive things. And that helped a lot. But again, like doing life with people is so hard.
Yeah.
I again just had conflict in my life, and my symptoms took a nosedive again. And it's amazing how much the emotional side of life can take you out, like when you're betrayed, or you know you feel like you just you don't matter maybe in that sphere. um
I get it.
so
The,
yeah.
the relationships have been the hardest aspect of this healing journey for me, for sure. It's like
Yeah,
people not understanding, not caring, not validating you, gaslighting you, um,
absolutely.
not really wanting to walk this journey with you. Like it's very difficult.
It is, yes. And I
Yeah.
definitely went through that with my family. And, so when I was living abroad, eventually there came a point where I was like, I was going to end my life, without a doubt in my mind. And I guess, like COVID happened. And for me, it was a blessing. When, yeah, it forced everything to change. And I decided to come back to Canada. I thought just for a few weeks, and then again, just like go back and like do my thing there. Just, it would be easier and over. And anyway, so I couldn't go back. And it, like, it was the best and worst thing for me because again, I had changed my life. I'd uprooted everything. So I was so in like this turmoil once again, but it forced me to, stay in one place. It allowed me to have more access to healing tools. I wasn't working then during the beginning of COVID, so I could juice and make sure I did everything and do it for my family as well. Because a lot of us were together during the first couple months. And by the way, like they all experienced amazing healing benefits and they all loved it, but it's the same thing of like people not being able to kind of let go of their belief systems. And so to this day, you know, they
Yeah.
don't agree with it, but they know it works. It's just that like
Yeah.
somehow
Are
internal
they
thing.
is it like religious conflict or
Um, no, it's more science. It's
oh the
and
the 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 false god of science,
exactly.
lowercase g god of
Yeah.
science? I know. It's funny.
It is. Um, yeah. So, but I mean, my whole journey was pretty interesting too, I think, because like when you go to a deep, dark pit, you know, and Joshua, I think maybe you have experienced something like that too, right? Like utter
Yeah.
total depression, almost like nothing seems like it can take you out of it.
Hmm.
When you finally do see the light, and like when you finally do get that ladder that helps you climb out of that pit, no one can convince you that that's not the way out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, no, yeah, I spent years down here. I looked everywhere already. I know
Oh,
this is the only way up, and it's the right way. It took, right?
oh,
So unfortunately, like it's a see it to believe it thing, right? Like a lot of people don't. I mean, to this day, a lot of, you know what? When you, I hope you don't ever get there, but if you do, like I have the tools to help you get
yeah.
out. So, um, but you know, there was a lot of tools that really helped me to get my footing. And I mean, it, you know, all medical medium for sure. But my favorite probably is lemon balm. And
Hmm.
when I was in my work phase, like, I mean, I get this, I used to get kind of like an OCD thought process of my suicidal ideation as well. And when I started to heal, I was able to be like, oh, it's just a cycle. I just have to get through it. It's going to be okay. And the only way I really could get through it at that time when it was at its worst was with lemon balm. And, you know, this was before the shock therapies, but somehow I feel like the body does know a lot. And I would literally like drink half the bottle at a time. And that's the only way I could stabilize.
Oh,
And it was because it worked. And so that was really helpful. But I mean, even like when that was happening, I remember deciding to time myself and see like how frequently do these thoughts come, because it's so disastrous, and you know, it derails you. And at some point I realized, I was like, you know, timing it, okay, so it's 8 minutes. Every 8 minutes I have to like hold on for dear life and know that something, whatever it is up there, is trying to take me down, and just hold on. And in my case too, I feel like it's not just the mental instability, but I felt like demonic attacks all the time.
yeah.
And I think that that kind of stuff prey on the people who are experiencing those challenges, right? Like they're an easy target. And
Hmm.
I think it's like darkness just wants to kind of like keep pushing until you finally go over the edge. So I think it's like it's so important to have that kind of context about healing too, that it's, you know, it's definitely not all in your head, and it's not your fault, and like hang on, because it does get better.
Yeah.
You know, like when I was at my worst, other people, you know, my mom and my family would be like, it's going to be okay, you're going to get through. And at the time though, I was like, no, you don't understand how bad this is. Like there is
Yeah.
no hope, right? And but only through using the medical medium tools does it get better,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Definitely.
uh, yeah, and
So,
I'd love to hear what your favorite tools are to that helped you.
yeah, I mean, the celery juice and the heavy metal detox smoothie were really like my foundations. The morning routine, and then just following, you know, the general principles, like taking out the no foods and lowering the fat and all that kind of stuff. But I also used lemon balm and zinc and some of the supplements as well. But um, just having that daily routine of the morning routine really helped me a lot. Like felt give me a sense of feeling stability every day. So um, yeah, it's amazing what having answers can do, because even saying like it's going to get better when you're in that state without answers almost feels like gaslighting a little bit. It's like, you know, it's so bad, you know, and if you don't see a way out, then why is it going to get better? It's like it's very hard, and
Yeah,
people don't understand if they haven't been through it. So, but once you have an answer, like for me, having a fear of not knowing if it was ever going to get better was like part of the difficult part early on. And then once you find an answer, that's alleviated. It's like, wow, now I know I have a path and I can just apply myself to it, and I know it's going to get better. So, how many years have you been, you know, since the plague, you've been doing a little better these past few years, or?
so I I found medical medium about 8 years ago, and now in the last 2 years, I feel good. I have
Okay.
happy days. I have myself back. I was able to get rid of my depersonalization, and I don't have that obsession, basically, of really anything. I, don't even think about, ending my life at all. And so it's really freeing because I did not think I would be here. Um, and I think like COVID really did help reset me in a very weird way. And I know that's hard. Like I hate that other people went through a lot of trauma and stress during that time too. But um, that was the time where I really said to myself, it's healing or it's nothing. Like, I know Anthony has the information. All I have to do is apply myself and it's going to work.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then fine. But that, like I know this is the only way through. So
Yeah.
just, and that's when I dug down. I went 110% in, back to back 369s and just like really getting on it. And even then, like it's not an easy journey, right? Like those
Yeah.
cleanses really intense. And yeah, I definitely went through a lot in the first maybe like 10 cleanses. It was really, really hard. I didn't think I would make it through a single one of them. And so many emotions come up. But one day I did, and it was just like, clouds open and you're
Mhm.
refreshed.
Yeah. And a
And what
good, mhm. Well, a good thing for me I notice is when I face challenges today, like relative to some of the hard things I went through in the past, it's not as bad. So even if it
absolutely,
like feels bad in the moment, like I know like I've been through way worse. So I have that
yeah,
context.
exactly. It is
Uh,
a godsend. Like just even your own intuition increases, right? So like now I don't find myself getting entangled with toxic people. Whereas
yeah.
before it was a magnet, I just like I would always be around people who tried to take advantage of me or, it just it would be awful. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
I see that flag. Okay, cool. Like nice color from here. I'm just gonna stay back. So I think it does all help you, you know, and I guess it's like the brain heat, right? It's so if you
Yeah.
get into a tumultuous situation, your brain's not already flaring and on fire. It's just like you can take a step back and see it for what it is and move on,
Yep.
which, new thing for me.
Yeah. Definitely. I've noticed that I don't spiral out of control as fast and I recover quicker. Yeah. So
Yeah, and each time it almost like now I feel like I can actually learn from my mistakes, whereas before
mm,
it's just like, it's everything's going wrong, everything's up in flames. And I think it's in Cleanse to Heal where he talks about that example of why we repeat the same mistakes over and over. And it's like you walk up to the stove, you burn yourself, and you walk back and you hit yourself in the fireplace, and you're just, everything is, you're always in a state once you get out of that.
yeah,
It's much better.
it's hard to learn
Daily
when you're in
2%.
like complete chaos. It's hard to learn from it. So yeah, I've experienced that as well. So
One thing I did want to just mention that I haven't heard a lot other people talk about, but for me, ashwagandha was a game changer. I don't know if you experienced that. Um,
I
but
have,
when I was doing, my back-to-back cleanses and yeah.
yeah, I've used ashwagandha as well and
Um,
gotten benefits.
so
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I found there was like I wasn't able to lift my depression while I was doing a lot of the cleanses, right? I was being really diligent with everything, even if I wasn't on a cleanse. But I noticed after some time, maybe about a year, I was like, but it's not enough. I need to do more. So at some point, like after the year of being strict medical medium, I decided to remove fat and salt, which was a great idea all
Hmm.
the time. And after 6 months, I used to have really bad acne. My face totally cleared up. So I was like, okay, that's great. I have good skin now, but I'm still don't want to live. Like, something's got to give. How do I fix this? And then that's when I was able to kind of, I had more opportunity in life. I found myself with a good job. and I just gotten promoted. And so I had more money. And so I was able to get ashwagandha. And that's really when I took that within a couple weeks. That's when, I felt like a lot of things started to change with my mental health. And I didn't expect that because I honestly kind of thought ashwagandha must just be for your hair or, maybe general adrenals, but I didn't connect it that maybe that adrenal health would have such an impact on my mental health.
Yeah.
So,
I think that plays a big role because especially me, I was on medication for like 8 years and my adrenals were shot. And it's definitely part of my energy level and my mood, like not having that adrenal strength. So yeah, it's definitely helpful.
mm,
So that's amazing. I'm so glad you're doing better and um you've been able to heal so much. People who haven't been through those types of symptoms cannot imagine, how
yeah.
difficult it is. Um so yeah, thank you for sharing your testimony. Do you have any other thoughts about like your healing journey and someone who might be just starting out and just hearing about medical medium?
My first instinct would be to say, trust the process. And whatever that process looks like for that person, I think it's totally okay, right? Like I was not able to just jump 2 feet in first, even if I wanted to, because of life constraints. And I think there's no harm in that. And, it's just like, just do one thing, right? And see what
Yeah.
that one does for you. And if it benefits you, try another one, like you just
Mhm.
keep going. And I think when I was cleansing too, I just had fun seeing how much the body could heal.
Yeah.
It was a challenge of like, well, I healed all those things. Well, what about what's going to happen the next round? And so it just became really a good experiment, right? Like
Yeah.
you an experiment, which I think is cool.
Yeah.
You are the results. So I say that all the time to people who are like, well, you don't know it works. Science didn't back it up. And I'm like, no, I do know because, right? Like I am the result of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
Um, yeah, like it's truth and people just need to try it or just need to open the book. And I feel like I don't know how it doesn't speak to people's soul.
I think, yeah, people, like you were saying earlier, like when you're really suffering and you're really in it and you don't really have any other options and, your life isn't all comfortable and stuff, like, it's almost like, what else are you going to do? It's like, I have to keep going. This is the only answer available.
Exactly.
I've tried everything else.
Yeah.
Um, it's just keeping that faith and implementing the tools
Yeah.
and it just takes time. So
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's not an easy journey or a fast one, but it is definitely worth it.
definitely.
Yeah. When I think about it now, just sort of going back to it all. When I started medical medium, I was in a completely different profession. I had no self-esteem about it. Like I knew there was not and much to look forward to. And now, I'm not at the height of where I'd like to be, but I'm so happy and comfortable and proud of myself and and like healing dyslexia through it. I didn't really mention that, but that changes your life, that changes your opportunities, and it's just like it's incredible to
That's
be told
amazing.
that's like a life sentence that's genetic and you just have to
Well,
you suck and everyone else is awesome, right? And it's like no, it's
yeah,
great. So,
it's nice to be free from that,
yeah.
all those theories of the industry.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much. People can have hope and inspiration now knowing that, you've healed these symptoms. So many people in this community have healed similar types of symptoms. And, we're that testament that it works and it's possible and you just got to stick it out and keep applying the tools. So
Yeah, that's
thank,
right.
thank you for sharing. I really appreciate it and God bless you.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks for all you do, Joshua.
Thank you.